Hello, my name is Jacob, and welcome to the sleepy cosmos. The clouds have always been slow companions above you, drifting like breath across the sky. But tonight, you wonder, what if they no longer floated, but raced? What would it mean for a sky that moves faster than light itself? Let us lie back, breathe slowly, and step into that question together. The evening sky is quiet, a gentle hush folded over the world. You lie back and feel the weight of your body soften into the earth. Above you, clouds drift like lullabies, slow and sleepy, pulled gently by the wind's invisible hand. They remind you of breath, your own breath, rising, falling, rising again. They've always moved that way, familiar, measured, trustworthy in their pace. But tonight, as your thoughts begin to stretch and settle, a strange, wondering slips into your mind, soft as a whisper. What if they didn't move like that? What if, instead of drifting, the clouds rushed across the sky like streaks of lightning? What if they moved faster than light? The idea doesn't startle you. Not here, not now. It settles around you like dew, cool and delicate. You don't need an answer yet. You let it unfold, slowly, like the first star in twilight. You imagine looking up and seeing a cloud that's already gone. Its shape, once cottony and soft, is now a blur, like a dream halfway remembered. The sky, which once felt still and solid, begins to shimmer with motion too fast to follow. You try to track it, this phantom cloud, but your eyes lagged behind. Your thoughts stretch to catch up, but they, too, fall short. What would a sky like that feel like? A world where clouds move faster than light would not be the world, you know. Light is the messenger of sight. It tells your eyes where things are, what shape they've taken, what colors they wear. If something outruns light, it escapes that message. It moves in secret, beyond your knowing. You try to picture it, a cloud arriving before it's seen, vanishing before it casts a shadow. It feels like time, unthreading, like cause, without effect. Your breath slows as you wonder, could you feel a cloud's breeze before you saw it? Could thunder arrive without a flash? It's not only speed that changes, it's meaning. The sky has always meant comfort, a dome of blue, of stars, of drifting weather. But now it becomes uncertain, a place where presence doesn't guarantee sight, where motion doesn't promise direction. The laws that cradle your world begin to shift, gently, just at the edges. You remember how the sky works now, as it is. Clouds are born of warmth. The sun lifts moisture into air, and cold draws it into form. They gather, grow heavy, and then fall again as rain. Their movement is a balance, wind, temperature, gravity. It's slow, like the process of falling asleep. Everything takes its time, but if clouds moved faster than light, that rhythm would unravel. The forces that guide them would still be present, but their consequences might ripple backward. A raindrop might fall before the cloud that made it was ever seen. A sky could darken with shadow before the cloud arrived. The story of the weather would no longer be told in order. You sigh, a small sound, part thought and part breath. In the world you know, light sets the limit. It's not just fast, it's the fastest. It marks the boundary between cause and consequence, between seeing and being. To break that limit is to blur the very thread that ties moments together. It's to unweave the fabric of now and yet. You wonder, what if the clouds didn't care? What if they simply soared, ignoring the rules that hold the rest of us still. Would time follow them, or would it be left behind? Maybe, you think, it wouldn't be a sky at all anymore. Maybe it would be something stranger. A space where the past and future folded together like wings. A place where you could see both the rain that fell and the rain that is still to come. A sky that holds all its moments at once. You feel the thought open wider inside you, soft and deep. You picture the clouds again, only now they are threads of silver rushing silently across the black. They don't light up, they don't echo, they slip across the sky like secrets. And you are simply the watcher below, wondering what story they came to tell. Would you feel awe or fear? Maybe both. But awe, you know, is just a kind of wonder. That doesn't yet have a shape. And fear is sometimes only the thrill of the unfamiliar. You let your eyes close now. The ceiling of your mind still painted with streaks of impossible sky. You picture lying in a field, wide and open. The stars above are steady, but the clouds flash past like thoughts, too quick to hold. You begin to feel a strange peace in it, a letting go of trying to understand every moment. Some things are meant to be witnessed only in their blur. There is a comfort in slow clouds, but maybe, just maybe, there's a quiet beauty in those that never wait. Maybe their speed isn't chaos, but clarity. And as you breathe in the thought, the world around you seems to pause just for a heartbeat. Then it moves again, slow and sure, like the sky you've always known. Still, the question lingers. What is it that makes light so special? Why does the universe ask everything to obey its speed? You feel the next thought beginning to rise, soft and shimmering, like dawn pressing into night. If clouds could defy the speed of light, what is light really holding together? Light is not loud. It does not push or shout. It travels through space like a whisper, constant, unwavering, and impossibly fast. And yet, it is not infinite. That truth is soft but powerful. Tonight, you drift beside it, not to race it, not to outrun it, but to understand what it holds together. You close your eyes and imagine the first time light ever moved. The universe had just taken its first breath, hot, dense, radiant, and in that beginning, light was born. It stretched outward like a child learning to run, filling the dark with a glow that hasn't stopped since, from stars, from fire, from the sun itself. Light spills in straight lines across space. It travels about 300,000 kilometers every second. A number too large to feel, but not too large to know. And yet, despite that speed, there are distances so vast that even light must pause to catch up. You look at stars in the sky, and some of their light left home before your ancestors walked the earth. The universe, in this way, is a kind of memory box. Light carries the past forward. It shows you not just where something is, but where it once was. Now you imagine light as a messenger, swift and silent, moving from every object to your eye, from every planet, from every moon, from every cloud. It tells you a story the moment it arrives. I came from there. I saw this. I was shaped by that. And in its telling, it gives you a picture of a tree at dawn, a bird mid-flight, a friend's smile, but only because it moved fast enough to reach you. Now think, what would happen if something moved faster than it? This is where the thread begins to fray, because light does more than just let you see. it keeps time. It preserves cause and effect. It defines what comes before and what comes after. Imagine dropping a pebble into a still pond. The ripples move outward, soft and predictable. Now imagine if something rippled faster than the rules allowed, if a wave reached the edge of the pond before the stone even touched the surface. What would that mean? What would that do to your understanding of cause, and consequence? That is what light protects, not because it is dominant, but because it is consistent. Einstein once described the universe as a fabric, and light, he said, threads through that fabric, weaving space and time together. Where light bends, time bends. Where light pauses, gravity speaks. You imagine the sky now, not just as blue or black, but as a quiet loom, where photons shuttle back and forth, stitching order into reality. And everything obeys the rhythm of that weaving, even time. There's a name for the way things move when no forces touch them: inertia. It's the universe's preference for calm. But when something changes, when it accelerates, that change is measured against light. Light is the ultimate ruler, not because it says so, but because everything else slows down in its presence. If you tried to chase light, really chase it, time for you would begin to stretch. Your heartbeat would slow, your thoughts would stretch thin. The faster you go, the more the world around you warps. Until, if you could somehow match light exactly, time for you would stop. Not freeze, not break, but stop. You wouldn't see the world as a stream of moments anymore. You'd see everything at once, like the whole film unspooled in front of you. This is why light is more than brightness. It's the great pacemaker. It doesn't just move, it sets the speed at which everything else is allowed to move. Even your own thoughts, in their tiny electrical flutters, obey this law. The neurons in your brain spark when molecules bump into one another, and those bumps, they, too, are governed by light. Not because light controls them directly, but because the electromagnetic forces that define your reality all honor the same gentle rule: nothing faster than this. Now, float back to the idea from earlier. The clouds that race across the sky faster than light. You remember how strange it felt, how it unraveled time, how it made shadows behave like riddles. Because if light can't keep up with those clouds, it can't carry their image to your eyes. You'd never see them coming. You'd only know they were there after they'd already gone. It would be like hearing thunder before the lightning even struck. And so the world would start to lose its secret. That morning follows night, and a smile means presence, and a star's twinkle means it's still burning. A faster-than-light reality wouldn't just move quickly. It would move out of sync. This is the cost of crossing that boundary. Not destruction, but disconnection. Like trying to read a sentence where all the letters arrive in the wrong order. Still, it's natural to wonder, to ask why light gets to set the pace, why the universe chose this speed and not one faster or slower. No one knows for certain. Others say it may one day be explained by something deeper still, a hidden layer of physics, yet to be seen. But for now, light remains what it is: the quiet, patient limit of all things that wish to move. And as you breathe in again, you feel that limit not as a restriction, but as a gift. Because of light's limit, the world holds shape. Because of its pace, you know where and when you are. Because of its boundary, time itself has meaning. You rest inside this truth that the universe, in its infinite possibilities, still chose structure. It chose rhythm. It chose light. But what, then, must be true for something to break that rule? What kind of force could move without asking light's permission? You feel a question forming at the edge of your thoughts, quiet but insistent. If light sets the limit, what must the clouds become to cross it? You've always watched clouds with a kind of trust. Their pace is gentle, their shapes endlessly unfolding, they drift with grace, not haste, a rhythm that echoes your own breathing. It feels like they are tuned to your pace, as if sky and body keep the same quiet time. But now, you begin to wonder not just where they go, but how, what lets them float like that? What keeps them suspended in the air, neither falling nor flying? To understand this, you must look beneath their softness. Inside the fluff is something more precise, an invisible ballet of physics, pressure, heat, and time. A cloud begins not as a cloud at all, but as water, in oceans, in lakes, in the breath of trees, and your own lungs. The sun warms the earth, and that warmth lifts moisture into the air as vapor unseen. The air rises, and with it, the vapor, up and up, until the air cools, and the vapor condenses, gathering into droplets so small they can float. Billions of them, suspended together, forming what you call a cloud. It's not one thing, but many, each droplet light enough to be held by the sky. And what holds them? Air, yes, but more than that, it's a balance, gravity pulling down, heat lifting up, wind pushing side to side, a delicate tug-of-war where nothing wins, and so everything floats. This balance, this suspension, is a kind of stillness in motion. It's why clouds can seem to hover, barely moving, even though the earth spins beneath them. And when they do move, they are carried, not propelled, like feathers in the breath of the planet. You imagine, now, lying beneath one of those whispering giants. It moves slowly, and you feel time expand. You could fall asleep in its shadow, and wake to find it still in sight. This is the rhythm of the natural sky, a pace defined by physics, as gentle as your heartbeat. But what if that changed? What if something interrupted the balance, not with force, but with impossibility? What if clouds no longer obeyed the rules of heat and pressure and buoyancy? What if they were no longer carried, but hurled? To move faster than light, clouds must shed everything familiar. They must leave behind the rules that let them form in the first place. Because no vapor, no droplet, no ordinary wind can ever push them past that sacred limit. The first rule they'd have to break is inertia, the universe's preference for rest and steady motion. To move faster than light, you'd need infinite energy, and clouds, soft as they are, do not hold such power. Next is mass. Every bit of matter has mass, and mass resists acceleration. The more you try to speed something up, the heavier it becomes. Not just figuratively, but truly, physically heavier. A cloud at light speed would become infinitely massive. It would no longer be cloud, but collapse, not into mist, but into impossibility. And then there's air. To move, clouds press against air molecules, but faster than light. They'd crash into those molecules before the molecules could even react. The air wouldn't have time to get out of the way. It would pile up, compress, superheat, not gently, but violently. It's a bit like running through a room before the room knows you've entered. The laws of resistance break down. Even time would shift for such a cloud as you learned before. Near light speed, time stretches, but beyond it, time flips. Events could unfold backward. You might see a flash of lightning before the storm arrives. Hear a raindrop fall before the cloud forms above you. These aren't just curiosities. They are violations. Clouds, as they are part of a world with sequence, order, and cause. To move faster than light, they must become something else. You imagine it now, a cloud breaking free from all that holds it back. No longer shaped by heat or held by pressure. It doesn't condense, doesn't form, it just moves. But what is it then? It's not water. It can't be. Water has mass. And it's not air, either. Air cannot keep pace with such speed. It must be something more or less, perhaps a ghost of a cloud, a phantom of vapor that exists only in theory, something made not of droplets, but of distortions, of space, of gravity, of meaning. It might leave no trail. It might not even reflect light. You would never see it coming. You might only feel a sudden shift, a pressure in your chest, a stillness in the trees, and then it would be gone. Would it even be a cloud anymore? Or would it be something else entirely? A traveler, not just across sky, but through time. You breathe in deeply, feeling the air fill your lungs, warm, dense, comforting. This is the world you know. A world where clouds are slow and time flows forward and movement takes effort. But tonight, in your thoughts, you've stepped beyond it. You've imagined a sky that moves too fast to follow. And in doing so, you've let go of what clouds are, to wonder what they could become. If they let go of what they know, still, the question remains. If ordinary clouds cannot break the barrier of light, if mass and energy and air and time all say no, then what could break through? What form would weather need to take to step across that line? What would it mean for time itself? If something as gentle as a cloud found a way to run ahead of it, the sky stretches above you, wide, patient, and silent. You lie still beneath it, letting your thoughts rise like vapor, light and slow. The clouds you imagined, the ones that move faster than light, still linger in your mind, like after images behind closed eyes. And now, the question floats up, why can't anything move that fast? There is a rule stitched deep into the universe, not written in books or carved in stone, but embedded in the very way things exist. It's a speed limit, invisible yet absolute, not enforced by barriers, but by the shape of reality itself. You begin with the name you've heard before, Einstein. He didn't invent this limit. He noticed it. He listened to the way the universe spoke in light and time, and wrote down what he heard in the quiet equations of relativity. In his view, space and time are not separate. They are one thing, space-time, and light is the thread that stitches them together. You can picture it like a great, soft sheet, the universe as a fabric. Massive things like stars and planets press down on the sheet, bending it, and light moves across it, not in straight lines, but curves. Even light must follow the warps and folds of space, and yet it always moves at the same speed, always. Whether it travels from a candle or a supernova, from a star or a screen, light moves through vacuum at 299,792,458 meters per second. You don't need to remember the number. You just need to know it never changes. It is the same for everyone, everywhere, always. This is not because of light's stubbornness, but because of something deeper. Speed is not as simple as distance over time. At these great scales, when things move near the speed of light, time itself begins to shift. It stretches, it slows, it bends. You imagine someone traveling near the speed of light. To them, time feels normal, ticking softly forward. But from your point of view, outside, their clock is slower. Their body ages more slowly. Their journey stretches longer. As their speed increases, the flow of time for them slows down. And if they could somehow reach the speed of light, time would stop altogether. But to get there, to reach that limit, something terrible begins to happen. Not in an explosive way, but in the quiet language of mass and energy. You may remember a simple, powerful idea. E equals mc, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. This means that energy and mass are not separate things. They are two forms of the same essence, and as something speeds up, it gains more energy. But because of this relationship, it also gains more mass. That cloud, that traveler, that photon chaser, it becomes heavier, not metaphorically, but truly heavier in the eyes of the universe. The faster it moves, the more energy is needed to keep accelerating it. And near the speed of light, the required energy becomes enormous, so vast. They are the only travelers that can ride that edge. They live at the speed limit, not because they are rebellious, but because they are born there. They are the message, the measurement, the movement. So when you imagine a cloud breaking that rule, you are imagining something that cannot exist in the way we know things to exist. A cloud has mass. It is made of water, of droplets, of molecules. It forms in temperature and responds to wind. It obeys gravity. It resists change. It has inertia to move it faster than light. You would have to give it more energy than the universe has. You would have to break the bond between mass and energy, or invent a new kind of matter altogether. And what would happen if you tried? Imagine a spaceship pushing itself faster and faster. As it nears the speed of light, the fuel it needs grows immense. Its engines scream, its hull strains, but it cannot pass that line. It can only crawl toward it, slower and slower, even as its own time ticks ever more gently. A cloud cannot strain, it cannot scream, it does not push, it floats, it exists, because the sky is kind to it. To force it past this boundary would not simply transform it, it would unmake it. And yet, in science, we don't stop at impossible. We imagine, we ask, what if? There are ideas, soft, speculative ones, about particles that could move faster than light. They're called tachyons. They've never been seen, never been proven. But in theory, if they exist, they always move faster than light and cannot slow down to below that speed. Tachyons, if real, would exist in reverse. Their time would move backwards. Their effects might arrive before their causes. Their presence would feel more like absence, like something missing from a place before it ever appeared. You begin to wonder, could a cloud be made not of water, but of tachyon? Could weather exist in reverse? Could a storm be seen before it is felt? It's not likely. It's not real. But it is fascinating, and sometimes, at night, wonder is more important than certainty. You breathe in again. slow and deep. Let the thought wash over you like wind across tall grass. This rule, this quiet, sacred limit of light, is not a wall, but a horizon, a place the universe lets you approach, so you may see its shape, but not its other side. And as you lie beneath the steady sky, you begin to wonder what happens to time itself if something, somehow, slipped through. If a cloud could move faster than light, would it outrun not just motion, but memory itself? You've always trusted time. It flows in one direction, like a river, gently pulling you forward. Morning becomes afternoon. Childhood becomes memory. Clouds pass overhead, one after another, never circling back. But tonight, with the sky full of impossible clouds moving faster than light, you begin to wonder, what if time doesn't flow the way you've always felt it should? You close your eyes and let the thought rise slowly, not as a fear, but as a question, soft, curious, and a little wild. If a cloud could move faster than light, would it arrive before it formed? Could it cast a shadow before it touched the sun? Light, you remember, is more than brightness. It's a marker of now. It tells you where something is and when it is. If something outruns that signal, it escapes the order that light brings. And without that order, time begins to wobble. You imagine a thread pulled tight between your fingers. That's time as you know it, clean, stretched, unbroken. Now imagine a sudden wind, shaking that thread into ripples, folds, loops. What was once straight begins to curl. Past and future no longer sit where they once did. This is the kind of world, faster than light motion might create. Physicists call this causality, the principle that says causes come before effects. It's a quiet promise the universe makes. Strike a match, then see the flame. Clap your hands, then hear the sound. But if a cloud breaks that law, if it moves faster than light, its arrival could be seen before the wind feels its chill. Its rain could fall before the sky ever darkens. To break the speed of light is to untie the knot that keeps events in their places. Time would no longer be a path, it would be a maze. This isn't just a matter of imagination. Even in the language of physics, the equations tell strange stories when light's limit is broken. Some solutions allow time to loop back on itself, like a river finding its own source. These loops are called closed time-like curves. They sound like poetry, don't they? And in a way, they are. They suggest a traveler or a cloud that moves not forward, but in a circle through time, returning to where and when it began. But can time truly rewind? Think of a memory, a soft one, perhaps the way sunlight once touched your face as a child. It lives behind you in the past, but it lingers now, carried by neurons, shaped by emotion. That memory feels still, frozen, unchanging, but in truth, it is always slightly shifting. Each time you remember, the path rewrites itself, just a little. Now imagine if you could truly go back, not just in thought, but in being. You could touch that same sunlight again, but would it still be the same? Or would your presence ripple outward, changing the very moment you meant to revisit? This is the paradox of time's unraveling. To move backward is to risk erasing the path you took to get there. And so, the universe resists. It builds its rules, not from cruelty, but from a deep desire to protect what is real. Entropy is one of those rules. You've felt entropy before, even if the word feels distant. It's the reason a warm drink cools, never the other way around. The reason a sandcastle crumbles, not builds itself. Entropy is time's compass, always pointing toward more disorder. If clouds could race beyond light, perhaps they could also outrun entropy. Maybe they could unscatter the rain, reform the mist, lift the droplets back into sky. But what kind of world would that be? Would it feel like peace or confusion? You imagine waking up before you fall asleep, saying goodbye before you meet, hearing a laugh before the joke. It is beautiful and unsettling, because even though time often feels too fast, too relentless, there is comfort in its flow, a kindness in its one-way path, the ticking of a clock, the arc of the sun, the aging of a photograph. They are small certainties in a shifting world, and yet, in the stillness of night, there is a part of you that longs to slip outside of time, to rest in a moment so deeply that it never passes. This longing is not unnatural. It lives in stories, in music, in dreams. It's why you remember. It's why you hope. Now, you open your eyes again, and the sky above you is still dark, still calm. The clouds return to their soft, slow pace. Time feels straight again, and yet the question remains, if time could be unspooled, would you follow it backward, or simply rest in the quiet, knowing that you could? Because as soon as you ask that question, another begins to shimmer in its place, soft and strange. If clouds can untangle time, could they also cast a shadow before they arrive? Imagine you're standing in a quiet field at dusk. The wind is still, the air is warm, and the sun is low behind you. You stretch your hand toward the earth, and there, on the grass, your shadow reaches forward before your fingers touch. A shadow is a promise of presence. It says, something is here, and light has noticed now. Imagine something stranger, a cloud so fast it races ahead of its own light. It hasn't arrived yet, not fully, but its shadow already stretches across the ground. It touches you before the cloud itself is even visible. You stand beneath it, uncertain. There's no shape above you, no sound, no shift in the wind. Only the darkness arriving early, like an echo that somehow comes before the sound. This moment, where shadow outruns source, is more than poetic. It pulls on a thread at the heart of the universe, cause and effect. In your world, effects follow causes. A seed grows after it's planted. A bell rings after it's struck. Rain falls after the clouds gather. This ordering is so familiar, you rarely question it. But physics doesn't just describe this order, it depends on it. It draws the line between what can be known and what can't. Light is the universe's courier. It carries information, not just brightness, but truth. When you look at the moon, you see it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you glimpse a star, you're seeing light that left its surface years, decades, even centuries in the past. Everything you know about something far away, every shape, every color, every motion, arrives through light. So what happens if something beats it? What if something arrives before its light? What if the shadow gets there first? To truly understand this, picture a lighthouse spinning slowly by the sea. Its beam sweeps the ocean, illuminating wave after wave. Now, if that light sweeps fast enough, faster than light should, you could see the beam reach one distant boat before it even touched the waters closer to shore. To the boat, the light might seem to appear without source, like a ghost, skipping steps. This is what faster than light motion can create: apparitions, disorder, a shuffling of events. In physics, this touches on something deeper: information transfer. You see, faster than light travel doesn't just move things quickly. It risks moving information too quickly. If you could send a signal that travels faster than light, you could, in some perspectives, send a message into the past. A shadow would speak before the light. The effect would arrive before the cause, and this unraveling breaks the logic the universe rests upon. But still, your mind wanders. What would it feel like to live in such a world? Would you trust what you see? You think of waking up and finding footprints in fresh snow, not behind you, but ahead. Yours, perhaps. But you haven't walked that way, not yet. Would you follow them anyway? Or turn back, afraid of what future self has already done? It's not just unsettling, it's disorienting. Because what grounds your sense of self, of time, of memory, of meaning, is the order of things. Even the simplest shadow obeys this. It appears because the light has been blocked. It exists in response, not in anticipation. So when you imagine a cloud arriving faster than its own light, you're imagining a universe where response leaps ahead of action, where the message precedes the moment, where echoes come before the sound, and still you wonder, would there be a beauty in it? Could such a world, so strangely ordered, reveal something hidden in yours? Perhaps, maybe in seeing a shadow arrive early, you're reminded how much you rely on what's visible, when often the most important things come quietly, unannounced, like emotion or intuition, or the way the air changes before the rain. Even now, your mind reaches for meaning, trying to imagine not just how the universe might behave, but how you would feel in such a world. Could a shadow that leads the light teach you to trust not only what you see, but what you sense? Because cause and effect aren't just physics. They are stories, narratives your mind writes to make sense of the world. If those stories change, if beginnings blur with endings, would you still know how to move through it all? Would you pause? Would you breathe? Would you wait for the light, or follow the shadow? Now the sky begins to soften in your imagination. The cloud, the one that raced ahead of light, begins to fade. Its impossible path has left a question, hanging like mist. What else might unravel? If sound, that gentle companion of storms, arrived after the silence broke, close your eyes. Let yourself drift upward into a slow, turning sky. Above you, clouds gather like quiet thoughts, swelling in soft gray layers. You feel it before you see it, the hush that falls before a storm, that pause in the world, heavy and expectant, when birds go still and the trees hold their breath. This is the choreography of weather. A storm does not arrive all at once. It tiptoes into your senses, a dimming of the light, a hush in the air, a shift in pressure that wraps around your skin like a whisper. And then, from somewhere far away, a flash dot, it streaks across the sky like a jagged signature lightning, sudden and luminous. You see it before you hear a thing. Then, after a pause, a low, rolling rumble. Thunder, arriving late, like a voice catching up to a thought in your world. This is always the order. Light first, sound second. The lightning and thunder are born together from the same burst of energy in the clouds, but they travel at different speeds. Light races ahead at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second. Sound trails behind, slower than a hummingbird's wings, moving only through air. You learn this as a child, counting the seconds between flash and boom. 1.2.3. The longer the wait, the farther away the storm. It's a rule as steady as breath, but tonight you imagine it differently. You ask, what if the clouds moved faster than the light itself? What if the storm came rushing through the sky so quickly it bent the rules? Would thunder come before lightning? Would the sky rumble in warning before it flashed? Or would the storm arrive in silence, its sounds stripped away by impossible speed? To feel your way into this question, imagine a pebble tossed into a pond, ripples spread out, slow and graceful. Now, imagine you toss the pebble so quickly, so violently, that it reaches the far side of the pond before the ripples even form. The waves can't catch up. The splash loses its sound. In a storm where clouds outrun light, something similar happens. Not just to sound, but to the very order of things. The delicate timing between flash and thunder unravels. In some places, thunder would arrive before you ever saw the storm. It would roll across the hills like a prophecy, announcing a strike that hasn't happened, not yet, not here. Elsewhere, lightning would flash in eerie silence. No sound would follow, not for minutes, or maybe not at all. You might think you'd imagined it, a flicker of thought across the sky, the harmony of the storm. That ancient rhythm of light and sound would break, and in that silence, you'd feel something missing, because storms speak a language, not just noise, but a story. The thunder tells you where the storm is going. The flash shows you where it's been. They're partners in a dance of time and space. When their steps fall out of time, so too does your understanding of the world. But why does this matter? Because sound, like light, carries more than information. It carries emotion. It's how you feel the world, not just how you see it. Thunder is the heartbeat of a storm, deep and trembling, like the earth is remembering something old. When it arrives too soon, or not at all, it unsettles you in ways you can't quite name. You listen for meaning in thunder, just as you listen for the tone in a friend's voice, the breath behind a lullaby, the warmth in words said gently in the dark. But when sound is unbound from its cause, when thunder arrives before the lightning that made it, it leaves you with only questions. Where is the storm? What has already happened, and what is still to come? These questions live not just in physics, but in your own experience of time. You mark your life with sounds, the ticking of a clock, the rhythm of rain on a window, the familiar creak of footsteps on the floor above. You trust these sounds to come in the right order. You build your days from them. When that rhythm shifts, when a sound comes too soon, it's like time stumbles. A storm that runs faster than light would trip the world in this way. It would pull the thunder forward, tangle it in the wind, and leave the lightning behind. Trailing like a forgotten thought, you might walk beneath a sky that speaks before it acts. You'd hear the warning before you saw the cause. The sky would whisper in riddles, and you'd have to learn to understand its new, broken song. Still, perhaps there is a kind of beauty in this, too. Because sometimes, in your own life, the thunder comes first. You feel unease before you know why. Your heart stirs before your mind understands. A shadow falls before the storm has formed. And so, like the sky, you learn to listen backward as well as forward. To hear meaning not just in echoes, but in the spaces where sound arrives out of time. Now you return to the clouds, these imagined ones that race impossibly fast. They ripple through the sky with no respect for pace or pattern. Their storms speak in jumbled rhythms, their light and sound misalign. You listen, and something inside you adjusts, not to fear, but to wonder, because if the storm can speak before it's seen, if sound can arrive ahead of light, what else might move in unseen ways, just waiting for you to learn its song? And as the last roll of thunder fades into the folds of silence, you begin to wonder what else is hidden in the quiet. Like color you cannot see, or the warmth of a sky you've never touched. There is something quietly magical about mirrors. You gaze into one and see yourself, not as others do, but reversed, paused in time, captured light by light. You see, your eyes look back, your breath soften the glass, and somehow it feels both intimate and unreal. But what if the mirror stopped telling the truth? Not because it wished to lie. Mirrors don't choose, but because the light you send toward it never arrives. Tonight you'll drift, not through clouds or thunder, but into the hush of still air, facing a polished silver surface. You reach out, and your hand should appear. But it doesn't. The reflection is gone, or delayed, or changed, because now the world you imagine is one where clouds and anything else move faster than light and light. Light is how you see. Every sight you've ever known, every glimpse of a loved one's smile, every page you've read, every star in the night sky, all of it arrives as light, traveling gently, invisibly, to your eyes. It's easy to forget, because it happens so quickly. Light bounces off the world, touches your retina, and your mind builds the image. But there's always a journey involved. And if something outruns light, it outruns visibility. Now, imagine standing in front of a mirror. You lift your arm. Normally, you would see the motion immediately, but here, light is too slow. Your reflection lags, like an echo out of sync. Or worse, your reflection doesn't come at all, because the image you expect depends on light bouncing off your body, traveling to the mirror, then bouncing back to your eyes. If you move faster than light, even just your fingertips, that light cannot catch up. It never gets to the mirror in time. The mirror sees nothing, and neither do you. You've become invisible, not in the cloak and dagger kind of way, but in the quiet, scientific sense. Your presence no longer announces itself in photons. You are here, yes, but unseen. A mirror without reflection. A presence without proof. And that leads to something deeper. Because if mirrors no longer show you what is real, then what do you trust? In your everyday world, seeing is believing. But now you are learning that vision is not absolute. It is a relationship with light. And when that relationship breaks, so does your certainty. You think of the stars, how they shine from distances so vast that their light takes years, centuries, sometimes millennia to reach you. When you look up, you do not see stars as they are. You see them as they were. Every night sky is a museum of delayed truths. And now, imagine looking into a mirror that does the same. You lift your hand, and your reflection does too. But only after a pause, just a fraction of a second, but enough to notice, enough to remind you, you are no longer looking at now. You are looking at then. A memory instead of a moment. This isn't just poetry, it's physics, because time and light are bound together. To see anything is to look backward, even if just by a breath. And if the clouds move faster than light, they, too, might carry memory in strange directions. They could pass above you, unseen, unreflected, their images trailing behind, like ghostly echoes in the sky. Buildings might cast shadows before they appear. Mountains might blur and shimmer oddly as light struggles to catch up. And you might pass a mirror and see yourself just arriving, even though you've already gone. This world would be a puzzle of time-lagged vision. You'd learn to move carefully, to trust not the image, but the source. And perhaps, in this strange place, you'd begin to feel the limits of your senses. You'd know that what you see is not always what is, and what is may be forever just out of reach. But maybe there's comfort in that, too, because vision has always been an act of interpretation. Even in your quietest moments, you don't just receive the world, you build it, piece by piece. The brain stitches photons into images, patterns into meaning, shadows into stories. And now, with the mirror silent, you are free to imagine what seeing could become. Not a reflection, but a feeling. Not a visual, but an understanding. You begin to sense the world, not by sight, but by rhythm, by pressure, by movement, by the way space folds gently around you. A kind of vision that lives deeper than the eyes. The mirror still stands before you, smooth, still waiting, but you no longer need it to reflect. You carry the knowing within, and just as you start to understand this slower truth, you wonder what color would be in a world where light cannot catch up. If light can't show you red or blue or gold, then what happens to color itself? Does it vanish, or does it find a new way to reach you? You lie still. The clouds above you are quiet again, no longer racing faster than light. But the thought still lingers. What would the universe do if we broke one of its most sacred agreements? It's a soft question, wrapped in starlight. Not shouted, not forced, just gently asked. Like a child peering over the edge of the known. You've spent many nights learning how light moves, how time weaves its fabric around speed and space, and how mirrors might falter when vision outruns photons. But now you go deeper, not into sight or sound, but into the structure that holds everything together. The rules, the quiet, ancient agreements the universe has made with itself. The ones that cannot be written in stone because they are older than stone, older than galaxies, older than time as you know it. They live in fields, not grassy ones, but invisible landscapes stretching across space, humming beneath all things. Quantum fields, fields of probability, of potential, where particles are not so much things as they are possibilities waiting to become dot. Every particle you've ever known, every atom in your breath, every photon that warms your skin is a ripple in one of these fields. The universe is not made of stuff, it is made of vibration, like music without a player. Notes waiting to be struck, and those notes follow rules. They always have. So what happens if clouds, or anything, go faster than light? What does the universe do? At first, it tries to resist. It has safeguards, causality, entropy, conservation, like soft rails guiding the music forward. Events must happen in order. Energy cannot just appear or vanish. Information must move no faster than the speed of light, so that the future doesn't arrive before the past. But in your thought experiment world, the clouds have already broken free. They move faster than they should. They send shadows before they arrive. They break mirrors. They confuse time. So now the universe responds not in anger, not in punishment, but in harmony, because everything the universe does, it does with balance in mind. You picture it like a stretched web, every thread connected. When one piece is pulled too far, the others must shift to hold the shape, to keep the song playing. Maybe particles begin to decay in new ways. Maybe vacuum itself, the empty space you thought was nothing, reveals hidden energy, unstable and reactive. Physicists call this vacuum instability, a fancy name for the idea that if certain rules are broken, like faster than light travel, then the vacuum, the very stage of reality, might crumble, not in a dramatic explosion, but like silk unraveling in slow motion. It's not meant to scare you, just to show you this cosmos is delicately tuned, balanced across forces, masses, constants, like a sculpture of motion woven through mathematics. But even if things begin to change, even if reality responds to your cloud's defiance, it doesn't mean it all falls apart. Maybe instead, new rules arise. The universe is not rigid. It is fluid, adaptive, always in motion. A dance more than a machine. And sometimes, dancers change their step. You drift through this idea like wind through tall grass, gently, thoughtfully. Could the universe allow faster than light motion if it rewrote itself in the process? Some theories think so. Tachyons, they're called, hypothetical particles that always move faster than light. No one's seen one, but they exist in equations like whispers. They would move backwards in time. They would break causality unless reality bent around them, creating timelines that loop, and not without tearing. This is not just science fiction. It is science listening to possibility, and you, lying here, are part of that listening. You are quiet with the question. You are patient with the unknown. You realize now the laws of physics aren't laws like the ones in books. They are patterns, deep patterns. And the universe is constantly responding, testing, tuning, flowing around them, like water around a stone, like wind across wings. Maybe, if something broke one pattern, a new one would form. Not better or worse, just different. Like switching songs without losing the rhythm. You begin to feel this balance in your body, in your breath, in the way your heart beats slower now, aligned with a cosmos that listens and adjusts. And as you lie there, you wonder if the rules of physics are also invitations, not just boundaries, but doorways, ways of saying, if you reach this limit, let's see what might happen next. Because the universe doesn't fear curiosity. It grows from it. It responds not with punishment, but with unfolding. One petal of truth revealing another. One field shimmering into a new state. And if clouds can move faster than light, and time can fold, and mirrors can lie, then perhaps even color, that soft language of photons, might find new ways to speak. You close your eyes gently and begin to wonder, in a world where light can't keep up, what becomes of red. You breathe, slowly, softly, like the world has quieted its pulse to match your own. You've traveled far, not through distance, but through wonder. You've soared beyond light, walked backward through time. watched mirrors delay your reflection, and heard storms arrive in reverse. And through it all, the universe responded, not with chaos, but with a delicate, measured grace. Now you return, not because you must, but because something within you yearns for the familiar rhythm of clouds. Drifting across a morning sky, you are not the same as when you began. You carry with you the scent of speedless time, the texture of thought stretched between stars, the sound of silence before cause finds its effect. But now you lie back beneath a sky that is still. No races, no rushing, just the tender motion of atmosphere and breath. Above you, a single cloud rolls gently across the blue, its edges soft as cotton, its path slow and circular, not straight like a beam of light, but curved like memory. Here, the world obeys the rules you once questioned. Light is again the fastest thing. Cause leads effect. Mirrors reflect faithfully. Colors bloom where they belong. And though you know the fabric beneath it all is more intricate, more fragile than it seems, there is beauty in this simplicity. This sky, does not need to be faster to be more real. It does not need to ripple or fold or fracture to feel full. Sometimes to the space between thoughts, everything moves slowly now, like a pendulum in a planet's dream. You remember, slowness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of presence. The cloud above you knows this. It dances not because it must, but because the air lifts it, the sun warms it, and gravity holds it gently from beneath. It has no need to outrun light, no need to collapse causality or rewrite time. It simply floats. And in doing so, it honors the laws that bind the universe. You reflect on that, how the universe is not a cage, but a cradle. Its limits are not punishments, but lullabies. Its constants, speed, mass, charge, are like tuning forks, ensuring that the music of the cosmos never loses its key. You feel a kind of peace now you didn't know you were seeking, not because the questions are answered, but because you've learned how to live inside them. You think of light again, how it carries information, not just sight, but story, how it teaches us to be patient, to wait for signals, to allow space for unfolding. Here, at the edge of your thoughts, you consider, maybe the boundaries of reality aren't meant to be broken, but understood. Maybe understanding them is the very thing that sets you free. The sky stretches above you, a canvas without urgency. The clouds, slow, white brushstrokes, offer no warnings, no riddles, no paradoxes, only presence. And you, with your breathing, your wondering, your slower returning awareness, become part of the sky, not just beneath it, but within it. You too move slowly now. You too are suspended by unseen fields, cradled by physics, wrapped in time. You think back to all the questions. What happens when something outruns light? What becomes of time, shadow, sound, reflection? What does the universe do when rules are broken? Now, as the answers slip into softness, you realize the better question may be, what does the universe offer when we listen, not to what could be broken, but to what is already so gently held? This moment, still, slow, and sunlit, does not demand explanation. It invites appreciation, and in the returning, you feel the deeper journey begin. The journey not outward, but inward, into patience, into presence, into the quiet certainty that some mysteries are meant to unfold at the speed of breath. A breeze sighs across your skin. The cloud above begins to thin, not because it must vanish, but because change is part of staying still. You close your eyes again, not in sleep, but in surrender. And just before your thoughts drift into the soft spaces between stars, you find yourself asking, if limits can be lullabies, what songs do colors sing when no one is rushing to see them? You lie still, the world is soft, the sky above you folds into velvet, the stars tucked into quiet corners. You are drifting again. Not through space this time, but within. Tonight, you explore a different kind of light, not photons, but sparks, electric, whispers leaping from neuron to neuron, the lightning inside your skull, the storm of, and though you are still, your thoughts run faster than your body, faster than the world, faster than even light. You wonder, can dreams begin before you sleep? Can a thought travel so quickly it meets itself on the other side of silence? Inside your brain, a single neuron fires an impulse, travels down its axon like a thread, unwinding fast. Yes, but not endless. About 120 meters per second. Quicker than a blink, slower than light. But something beautiful happens as these signals ripple across the vast forest of your mind. They don't just carry data, they shape reality. Each thought pulls the next into being. Each dream builds a bridge into the possible. You close your eyes, and in that darkness, something stirs. A shape you cannot name. A place that only exists because you imagined it. A dream that begins before you are fully gone from waking. This is not magic. It is chemistry and biology, yes, but it is also poetry. Because the brain does not simply react, it creates. You watch it work, not with your eyes, but with your noticing. Waves of electrical current wash across your cortex. They bring light to memory, to sound, to sensation. Some waves move in cycles, alpha, theta, delta. They roll like tides. You surf them now. They slow your heartbeat. They relax your limbs. They open the space between thought and awareness. You feel colors you do not have names for. You hear voices that belong to no one. Where do they come from? The neurons? Yes. The chemicals, serotonin, acetylcholine, dopamine. But deeper still, they come from structure, from the rules written into the folds of your brain, from limits, from form. You are reminded, even dreams obey laws. They ride the scaffolding of your biology, like clouds that can only form when the air is just right. Your dreams bloom from thresholds and thresholds alone. You do not need to run faster than light to escape. You only need to sleep. Sleep is the universe's most elegant portal. It requires no rocket, no paradox, only rest. Your brain, while you drift, does not stop. It files memories. It rehearses movements. It speaks in symbols. It repairs. Every flicker of a thought is a cascade, an avalanche of tiny, organized chaos. If your thoughts define you, and those thoughts are always running, are you a river with no banks? Or are you the shape the river carves, the echo, not the source, the dream, not the dreamer? Still, you lie still. The dream begins, and you drift within it, not watching, not directing, just floating. The scene changes, fluid and unjudged. A field of silver grass, a staircase made of clouds, a memory that never happened. You are not alarmed. The brain dreams not to confuse, but to cleanse, to clear space, to organize chaos, to make peace with what cannot be explained while awake. And through it all, through the surreal and the strange, your mind remains bound by the same truths as the waking world. It cannot exceed light. It cannot reverse time. It cannot exist in two places at once. But it can imagine all of those things. And that, somehow, is more miraculous. A firing neuron becomes a dragon. A fluttering synapse becomes your grandmother's voice. A drop of neurotransmitter becomes a feeling of falling that lifts you instead. Here, in the echo chamber of your own biology, you create worlds. Worlds that dissolve as easily as they arrive. Worlds that reflect your questions more than your answers. Worlds that teach you how to listen. Even now, you are listening. Not to sound, but to rhythm. To the pulse of your brain winding into dream. What if this, too, is a law of physics? That consciousness seeks shape, that awareness finds story, that sleep is a science wrapped in softness. You turn inward a final time. The dream wraps around you like dusk. You do not need to hold it. It holds you. And just as your thoughts begin to dissolve into sky, a new wondering rises. If dreams move through you like light moves through glass, what then are colors in a world where no eyes remain open? You lie still, your body quiet against the gentle weight of your bed, as if you're sinking softly into a sea of silence. Somewhere in the distance of your mind, you hear it, not a sound, but the ghost of one, an echo, faint, delicate, lingering, like the shadow of something no longer there. Echoes have always been behind us, chasing our footsteps in canyons, bouncing from the walls of empty cathedrals. Delayed reminders of what once moved through the air. But tonight, you wonder, what if that delay reversed? What if the echo arrived first, as a whisper before the voice, a ripple before the stone ever touched the water? To think of an echo coming before its cause is to walk backwards through time, gently, barefoot, through the strange and humming fields of physics. Sound, you know, is not a thing in itself. It's a motion, a compression, a tremble, traveling through air like a crowd of invisible dancers. Each molecule bumps the next, passing along the rhythm of a voice, a footstep, a sigh. But sound moves slowly, at least compared to light. Roughly 343 meters per second in air, slower in colder air, faster in warmer breath. You could walk faster than your own whisper if you tried hard enough. This slowness is part of what makes echoes possible. When a sound leaves you, it travels away and reflects off a distant wall or tree or mountain. Then it returns late, never quite itself anymore, like a letter sent, read, and returned with someone else's fingerprints on it. But to reverse this, to receive the echo before the sound, would be to violate the ordinary dance of time and space. And yet, in the abstract spaces of thought, where your mind floats now, it's not entirely impossible to imagine. Begin here, not with sound, but with time itself. Time doesn't always flow forward, at least not in theory. World, where particles blink in and out of certainty. There are possibilities, whispers of time loops, of retrocausality, where effect precedes cause. Not something you can easily see or measure, but something that mathematics can carefully cradle. In one such idea, known as the Wheeler-Feynman absorber theory, Waves can move both forward and backward in time. These aren't sound waves, they're more abstract. If the universe allows for time to flow like a tide, might sound to ripple backward on some distant shore. Of course, in your world of day-to-day, sound obeys its limits. Your voice takes time to reach the wall. The wall takes time to give it. Imagine you are sitting at the edge of a great canyon. You clap your hands, and after a breath or two, the sound returns to you. You know that delay is distance measured in time. But what if, just for a dream's length, the delay ran in reverse? What if the returning sound touched your ears before your hands came together? You'd be haunted by a future not yet lived. There are phenomena, strange and rare, that brush against this. In certain atmospheric conditions, sounds can bend, curving along thermal layers or bouncing across valleys. You might hear something that happened far away, seemingly out of sync. A train's horn before it's in sight. A whisper from across a still lake that reaches you before you're sure anyone has spoken. But even these are illusions of distance, not time reversal. Still, illusions matter. Perception creates your sense of reality. Your ears are sculptors of space and moment. What they hear, and when they hear it, builds your trust in cause and effect. So imagine again, a cloud races faster than light. Sound, trying to keep up, is scattered, delayed in places, warped in others. You stand beneath this storm, and suddenly, the echo comes first. You hear your own name spoken before your lips move. You shout, and the mountain answers you a beat too soon. What would that mean? The brain, after all, is not a recorder, it is a storyteller. It knits what it hears into coherence, smoothing over gaps and delays to keep you calm, anchored. But if an echo leads the sound, the brain would stutter, hesitate, a glitch in the narrative, a reversal of the thread. Would your memories unravel? Would your trust in time fray? Or would it feel, perhaps, like prophecy, like déjà vu in acoustic form, the sense that you've been here before, heard this before, even though it's the first time? Your mind, searching for pattern, finds one too soon. Science tells us echoes are reflections, bound by delay, shaped by environment. But reflections can mislead, just as a mirror can distort what you see. An echo can twist what you believe you've heard, especially if it comes out of order. And so, in this gentle night of imagination, you wonder, could we create an environment not in the outside world, but inside the mind, where perception flows in loops, where thoughts arrive before they're formed, where a dream arrives before the fear that wakes you from it? Dreams, after all, don't follow clocks. They bend and spill, and sometimes show you endings before beginnings. Maybe an echo in a dream does arrive early. Maybe your sleeping mind is already familiar with this strangeness and comfortable with it, because echoes, like memories, are not bound by the present. They reach back, they return, they visit. And now, as you lie in the still hush of night, you imagine the air around you as soft fabric. Sound moves through it like a needle threading time. But what if a stitch is sewn in reverse? What story would that tell? You are not frightened, only curious. Gently so. The rules of physics remain, but wonder has always existed at their edges, peering through gaps, asking, what if? What if every echo was not just a reflection of sound, but of time itself? What if the future sometimes whispers before you are ready to hear it? Time feels smooth tonight. You lie still in the hush of your room, the air calm, as though it too is holding its breath. Your thoughts begin to loosen, slow like honey. But in this gentle slipping of awareness, one question rises like mist. What if time flowed the other way? Not just the dream of it, but the physics of it. Could the world, the real world, ever run backward? You think of a glass of water tipping off a table, crashing into pieces. You know what comes next. The shards spread, the water spills, and the order that once was has now dissolved into mess. It's an ordinary moment, and yet, what if the reverse happened? What if the splash leaped upward, the glass reformed from its scatter? The water gathered itself into shape, trembling into stillness. That's not just a strange idea, it's a defiance of entropy. And tonight, as you drift, entropy is your quiet companion. Entropy is a measure of disorder, but it's more than missigns. It's a direction. It tells time where to go. You never see steam pulling itself back into a kettle, or ashes reassembling into wood. You never see cream unmixed from coffee. There's a one-way street to these things, forward, and yet the laws of physics, at their deepest level, are largely reversible. The equations don't prefer past or future. They work either way. It's only when many things come together, trillions of particles swirling in warm breath and hot tea and falling stars, that time begins to lean forward. Why? Because there are more ways to be disordered than to be neat. A single snowflake is precise, each branch shaped by delicate humidity and motion, but a melted puddle that could be anything. Once a structure falls apart, the chances of it reassembling by accident are vanishingly small. You feel this intuitively. You feel it in the way your body ages, in the way memory gathers, like autumn leaves, vivid at first, then scattered, in the way a home slowly fills with dust, not cleanliness. The universe leans toward forgetting, toward scattering. But what if it didn't? You imagine a world of entropy in reverse, where heat flows from cold to hot, where waves unbreak footprints, pull themselves out of sand, and every breath you exhale is inhaled again by the self you used to be. Would it feel like going backward? Or would it feel like something else entirely, like being rewritten? In physics, there's a famous thought experiment called Loschmidt's paradox. It asks, if the laws of motion are reversible, why does time have a direction at all? Why don't we ever see entropy decrease, even though it's possible, in theory? The answer, softly whispered through the math, lies in probability. Imagine a deck of cards, perfectly ordered, aces on top, suits aligned. You shuffle once, the deck becomes less ordered. Shuffle again and again. With each shuffle, disorder increases. Could you, just by chance, return to the perfect order? Yes, but the odds are astronomically small. Now scale that up. Imagine the entire universe as that deck, all particles aligned, all energies balanced, and then the first cosmic shuffle, the Big Bang. Since then, entropy has been rising, not because it must, but because it's likely, hugely, overwhelmingly likely. Still, tiny fluctuations can reverse entropy. For an instant, a dust mote might move a molecule just so. An unlikely pocket of cold may appear in a swirl of heat. These are rare, fleeting, but in them you glimpse the idea that time's arrow is not absolute, only overwhelming. You turn now to the brain, that whispering engine of thought. If the world reversed, would your memories unspool?
Would you
Recall the future instead of the past. Memory, you realize, is an act of entropy. Takes energy to encode, to store, to recall. Your brain burns calories as it remembers. In a backward world, would it gain energy instead of lose it? Would forgetting become a form of creation? You think of snowflakes again. Each one forms from chaos, water vapor, temperature gradients, vibrations in the air. But somehow, order emerges, six-pointed beauty from wandering molecules, a pause in entropy, a miracle shaped by the physics of symmetry in reverse. A puddle would give rise to snowflakes, rising into sky, freezing into pattern. You imagine watching that, flakes lifting from asphalt, swirling upward, reforming mid-air, returning to the clouds like thoughts, returning to a dreamer. It would be beautiful, but fragile, because, to sustain, reverse entropy would mean the entire universe conspiring for order. Every atom choosing neatness over freedom. Every gust of wind favoring precision over play. It's not impossible, just deeply, deeply improbable. And yet, not entirely forbidden. This thought rocks gently in your mind, like a boat adrift on a quiet sea. Perhaps entropy is not a law, but a preference. Perhaps time prefers forward motion, not because it must, but because that's where the stories live, where change happens, where the unknown waits. You breathe in, slow and deep. The air fills your chest. Each inhale, a moment of order. Each exhale, a release into the wider world. Molecules mixing, dispersing. You are part of the story entropy tells. A note in its melody. But somewhere inside you, a different rhythm stirs. In the deep logic of physics, there's an idea called time-symmetric laws. These laws say, if you were to reverse every particle's velocity, every spin, every wave, the universe would work just as well backward, maybe. Then time's arrow is not a law inscribed in stone. Maybe it's a consequence of beginnings. The universe began in low entropy, and ever since, it's been unspooling into variety, into possibility. So here you are, a ripple in that unspooling, a mind born from the rising tide of disorder. And still inside you, order blooms. You think, you reflect, you wonder. These are acts of resistance, tiny islands of clarity in the ocean of change. And tonight, in your quiet room, you imagine again, what if entropy paused, just for a moment? What if the scattered reassembled? What if the snow rose again? You do not need it to be true. The dream is enough. You lie still, and time continues, softly, in the direction it loves best. You lie still beneath a sky you cannot yet see. Eyes closed, but thoughts open, adrift among stars that haven't even reached you. Out there, beyond the hush of your walls, light travels. It always has. Quiet, patient, endless, and yet not instant. Every twinkle overhead is old, a message, delayed by time and distance. The sky as you know it is not now, it's then. It's always then. You open your eyes in your mind. There, rising in your imagination, is a telescope. Not large or mirrors, but gentle, like a reed growing out of still water. You walk to it, barefoot in thought, and place your eye to its lens. What you see is not just space, it's history. The further you look, the deeper into time you drift. A star, 100 light years away, blinks softly at you. That blink happened a century ago. Another, dim and red, shines with the light it shed when oceans on Earth were still unfamiliar with machines. And further still, galaxies unfurl in slow spirals, their glow begun long before your ancestors gave names to the stars. A telescope is a time machine, not in theory, but in practice. Light is fast, unimaginably so, but it isn't infinite. And the cosmos is vast, almost rude in its vastness. So even light, racing along the dark rivers of space, must take its time. You look back, not because the telescope is magic, but because the universe is slow to speak. Now imagine something strange. Imagine clouds that move faster than light, impossible by what you've learned. And yet this is a dream, a gentle wondering. What would such clouds do to vision, to truth? Could they block light, not only from reaching you, but from ever forming the story you now believe? Would they let you see yesterday while standing in today? In physics, nothing can carry information faster than light, but you're not bound by physics here. You're floating, wondering, unhurried. So you ask the impossible. What if something could outrun the very image of the present? You imagine light from a distant planet sailing toward you when suddenly a faster than light mist passes by. It overtakes the image, pulls ahead of it. You, standing with your strange telescope, see the cloud before you see the light. It interrupts. You see the before the now. It's strange and beautiful. But let's return for a moment, gently, to what is real. Let's wander slowly into the way telescopes work. All around you is light. The sky sings in radio waves, whispers in infrared, shivers in ultraviolet. Telescopes are translators' eyes that speak in dialects your own eyes do not understand. Radio telescopes stretch their arms wide like wind catchers of the cosmos. Infrared telescopes pierce through cold dust, revealing the warmth of baby. Stars, X-ray telescopes find the screams of dying suns, and all of them, all look back, because no matter the wavelength, light carries delay. It tells stories late. And so, every telescope is a book of old news. You lie back in your mind, drifting now not through space, but through time itself, and you remember, even the moon is delayed. The light that bounces from it into your eyes is over a second old. The sun, 8 minutes. If it vanished, you wouldn't know, not immediately. The universe doesn't speak in real time. It murmurs through memory. This delay, this gentle lag, is a gift. It means we can study beginnings. Cosmic microwaves, from when the universe was just a baby, 380,000 years old, still bathe the sky. You've felt their echo in the static of old televisions. That hiss is the sound of everything becoming. Telescopes pointed toward that hiss don't just see stars. They see the seeds of stars, the wrinkles of space before galaxies were born. They see yesterday, the first yesterday. You wonder if we could build a perfect mirror far enough away and reflect Earth's light back. Could we see our own past? Yes. In theory, it would take time, unimaginable patience, and unimaginable engineering. But light carries the story of everything it touches. It flies outward in all directions, forever. Somewhere out there, your face, your present moment, is still traveling, recorded in photons, scattering toward nowhere. You are a ripple in the fabric of space, and space, it turns out, never forgets. There's another truth here. resting quietly beneath the surface. Time and space are not separate. They are not distant cousins, but partners in a single fabric, space-time. When you move, you travel through both. When you see both. When you gaze into the sky, you stretch yourself across the past. Einstein showed us that gravity bends time, that mass and energy warp the paths of light, that the deeper the well of gravity, the slower time moves. Can stretch far away, that same second is a blink. Now you imagine placing your telescope near such a place. Near the event horizon, light takes longer to climb out, and so the picture it gives you is stretched, delayed. But what of you? A star frozen as it falls, a galaxy smeared like a painting, time peeled open. What if you could turn the telescope inward? What if you could peer at your own thoughts, your own memories, with that same slow, reverent gaze? You think of how memory, too, is delayed. You never remember the present, only the echo. Neural signals travel, fire, link. And only afterward do you notice, I was here, I felt that, I thought this. Perhaps, in a way, your mind is a telescope, pointed at itself. Perhaps, like the sky, your own life is a sky of stars, some near, some long gone, still glowing dot. So, now, as sleep approaches, you find yourself cradled between light and delay. You are part of a universe made not just of things, but of echoes, of reflections arriving late, of truth that always trails behind. And yet, what comfort to know that nothing is ever truly lost, that every moment radiates outward forever, that the stars you see were once like you, watching, wondering, that even now your own light is on its way to someone else's night sky, and perhaps, in a place far from here, a telescope made of dreams is watching you, not as you are, but as you were, beautiful and distant, and still becoming. You begin, as always, in stillness. The world around you is quiet, and so is the sky. You drift in thought, letting go of hours and minutes, and feel something much older, much slower, moving beneath everything. The universe is expanding. You've heard this before, perhaps in a classroom, perhaps in a dream, that galaxies are not flying through space, but being carried with it, like leaves on a river, not of water, but of space-time itself. You are part of that motion, whether or not you feel it. Close your eyes. Now imagine you are floating far above a galaxy, any galaxy, not unlike your own. It glows gently in the dark, not spinning wildly, but turning with grace, held together by invisible hands, gravity, inertia, and time. But beyond its edges, space itself is stretching, not pushed, not pulled, just unfolding, like dough rising with yeast, like the soft exhale of someone asleep. Each point in space moves away from each other point, not because they're fleeing, but because the space between them grows. And here is the secret. The farther apart two things are, the faster that stretch becomes. Galaxies too far away begin to recede faster than light, not because they are breaking a rule, but because the rule itself makes room for them to do so. They are not moving through space faster than light. Space itself is expanding between them, and so you can never reach them, not even if you were made of light. They cross a horizon not of visibility, but of possibility. This is the universe's gentle speed limit. Nothing can travel through space faster than light, but space itself. It has no such leash. Now you float, side by side, with this stretching, you feel no wind. There is no rushing, just a quiet, ceaseless, blooming dot, like the soft rise of fog on a morning lake. Astronomers call this cosmic expansion, and they have measured it with care, tracing the redshift of galaxies, watching how light from distant worlds stretches as the space it crosses grows longer, cooler, redder, until it disappears from sight, like the last whisper of a departing train. But what if something could go faster than light? What if, as you've imagined before, clouds, thoughts, or dreams could somehow outpace even the cosmos itself? Would they reach those far-off galaxies? Would they catch up to the edges of time? No, because there is no edge, only more space, more between, a race not against distance, but definition. You see now, light is not only fast, it is limiting. It defines what can be touched, known, seen. It draws a soft curtain between what is and what might have been, and yet the universe honors that curtain. It expands, not in bursts, but in breath, in rhythm. Even when rushing outward, it respects the limit it set for itself. A patient infinity. You wonder why. Why not faster? Why not all at once? And then you think of how time is stitched into space, how to stretch one is to stretch the other, how speed, a soft, cosmic etiquette, even infinity, it seems, takes its time. Now drift deeper, let go of the galaxies, the redshift, the speed limits, float in the hush of everything expanding, not rushing toward a goal, but becoming what it always was, meant to be. And know this, in the slowing, you are safe. In the limit, there is structure. In the stretch, there is room for everything, even you. You are part of this rhythm, this great cosmic inhale. You are moving, though you feel still. You are changing, though you seem unchanged. The sky above is not fixed. It is unfurling, and one day, far ahead, it may stretch so wide that stars will vanish and only silence will remain. But tonight, you are here. Tonight, you feel it, the gentle reach of everything. And in the silence between stars, where speed loses its meaning, you begin to wonder, if even the dark must stretch, where does it go when it fades? Where does the invisible take shelter when the cosmos grows too wide for light? You are listening, not to voices, but to patterns, to the soft rhythm of the universe breathing messages carried on waves you cannot see. Information is all around you. It lives in light, in gravity, in the shape of a ripple, in the pull of a tide, in the warmth of sunlight on your cheek. It is always moving, but never hurried, because even thought must obey a speed limit. You feel that limit deep in your being. It's the reason you can see stars, but not their futures. It's why a message from a distant galaxy takes eons to arrive, and why the past always feels just a little more complete than the present. Information travels at the speed of light, no faster, no shortcut, not even for the most urgent truth. A particle born in the heart of a star takes thousands of years to reach the surface, and then thousands more to cross the vacuum of space. It tells you a story from the past, a whisper delayed but not distorted. This is how the universe keeps its promises. This is how it protects causality, the law that cause must always come before effect, that the seed must come before the tree, the lightning before the thunder. Imagine now if something could break that promise, if information, not just motion, but meaning, could travel faster than light. Would effect arrive before cause? Would answers appear before questions? A faster-than-light cloud might rush ahead of its own message. You'd see the consequences, but not the reason. A shadow with no figure, an echo with no sound. The world would stop making sense, and your mind, built to arrange time like pages in a book, would lose the thread. You see, the universe is more than matter. It is a story, unfolding, ordered, alive, and information is the ink. It draws the lines between moments so you can follow them gently, from one heartbeat to the next. You float in this thought for a while, drifting through a space of signals. And silence is everything you know, from the warmth of a memory to the flash of a shooting star, relies on information, arriving after it's sent. Even light takes time to tell its tale. You remember watching lightning as a child. The sky would split open, bright and raw, and only after the thunder would roll in. Not because sound is lazy, but because light is faster. Both came from the same event, but the story reached you in sequence. Now imagine that reversed. Thunder before the flash, effect before cause. The mind would stumble. Faster than light communication would do just that. It would make the universe incoherent. There's something sacred in the slowness, a cosmic kindness, giving you space to understand each moment before the next one arrives. In physics, this principle is called causality. But to you, it feels more like trust. Trust that what comes next will make sense. That the sun will rise, not suddenly vanish. That the rain will fall after the clouds gather, not before. In quantum theory, things get fuzzier. Particles can entangle, influence each other across distance, seemingly without traveling at all. But even there, causality remains intact. No information, no usable message is sent faster than light. It's as if the universe allows mysteries, but not chaos. Surprises, but not contradictions. You lie quietly now, feeling the texture of time, the slow unfurling of moment into moment, your thoughts to move like information, one forming from another, not leaping wildly, but building, unfolding, like the petals of a flower opening to morning light. This is why you can learn, why understanding deepens, not just arrives. If ideas traveled too fast, they might not form at all. Like waves that crest before they have time to rise. The structure of thought, of memory, of curiosity requires patience. The mind, like the universe, unfolds. And so, the cosmic speed limit is not a barrier. It is a rhythm, a safeguard. Imagine standing on a hill at night, watching the sky. Each star you see is a message from the past, and yet it feels immediate, present, because your mind is tuned to receive what the universe is ready to share. Not too early, not too late. Even gravity, that quiet conversation between planets and stars, travels at light speed. If the sun were to vanish, its pull would linger for 8 full minutes, just as long as its light. Time and space speak in lockstep. Number 1 interrupts. You are part of that conversation. Every cell in your body listens to light, to time, to cause and effect, and you respond in kind, not rushing, but flowing. You realize now that faster isn't always better. Speed can blur the edges of meaning. Too much at once becomes noise. But information, when it arrives in time, becomes story, becomes clarity, becomes wonder. And so the universe paces itself, not slowly, but thoughtfully. It tells you one chapter at a time. And tonight, It's told you this, that in the vastness of everything, patience is woven into the fabric of truth, that secrets are not hidden, just waiting for the right moment to be understood, that what you need to know, the next message, the next light, the next whisper, is already on its way. And as you lie there, cradled in the quiet promise of delay, a thought begins to form. If information can only move forward, what happens when it meets a boundary, a silence it cannot cross? What happens when even the whispers must stop and only stillness remains? You are the cartographer of your own cosmos, not with compass and parchment, but with attention, memory, and wonder. You map the world by knowing it, by gathering each moment and giving it shape. But tonight, a question floats into your quiet sky. What if the world moved faster than your map? What if knowledge could not catch up? Close your eyes. Picture a landscape you've never seen, racing past at the speed of light or faster. What would you draw? How would you describe what cannot be reached? To map something is to hold it still, to say, here it is. Here is the hill, the river, the constellation. But what if the hill moved before the ink touched the page? What if the stars whispered their positions and then shifted before the whisper reached you? In science, we often think of measurement as truth, but measurement, too, takes time. It is not instant. It's a request sent into the dark, and a reply received only when the universe is ready. This delay is not a flaw. It is a rhythm. The universe breathes in layers, and so we must learn it the same way, one ripple at a time. Think of stars. Every point of starlight above you is a note from the past, some from decades ago, some from centuries, some from before. Your species had words to name what they saw. You never see the star as it is, only as it was. But your map holds it, nonetheless. That is the paradox. You are always mapping what was, in order to understand what is. Imagine a faster-than-light cloud, moving beyond even light's reach. It races ahead of its own reflection, ahead of every story that could be told about it. How could you chart it? Not with eyes, not with instruments, not even with imagination, for imagination, too, is bound by what it can remember. The map would be forever incomplete, not because you lack skill, but because the land itself would never pause long enough to be seen. This is more than a thought experiment. It is a meditation on knowing, because even here, on this quiet earth, you face the same softness in the limits of perception. The brain does not receive the world all at once. It edits, it delays, it smooths the gaps so the dance appears seamless. You feel the world in whole moments, but those moments are stitched from fractions, from fragments, from delays. You do not live in real time. You live in assembled time. And this, strangely, beautifully, makes you human, because the map in your mind is never perfect. It is approximate, woven from memory, inference, hope. But that doesn't make it false. It makes it alive. A perfect map would be unreadable, too detailed, too overwhelming. So the universe offers you just enough clarity to move forward, enough mystery to keep wondering. Think of how even the most advanced models can't see beyond a few days. Not because the data is bad, but because the system moves too quickly, with too many possibilities unfolding at once. To know everything instantly would be to lose the beauty of learning, So the universe hides itself in layers, not out of secrecy, but generosity. It lets you uncover it slowly, cloud by cloud, pattern by pattern. Even mathematics, so sharp, so precise, has edges where it blurs. G. Gödel showed us that some truths cannot be proven from within the system that holds them. Some things are true, but forever unprovable. A map with missing corners, and yet it still guides you. You walk your days with partial maps of people, of places, of yourself, and you adjust them kindly as more light arrives. The stars do the same. Galaxies drift. Even the fabric of space is stretching, and every map of the cosmos must be drawn again and again to remain honest. You lie back and breathe into this idea that certainty is not required for wonder, that partial knowing is still knowing, that to revise is not to fail, but to grow. In physics, the light cone defines what you can know. You cannot see them, cannot touch them, cannot be affected by them. They are elsewhere in space-time, moving too fast or too far. Your map ends there, not with a wall, but with a question mark. And so your curiosity becomes a compass, pointing not north, but forward. You trace the outline of what you don't yet understand, and find comfort in the shape of it, because there is always more, always a next layer, a deeper ring of knowing, like peeling an onion made of galaxies, like listening to a symphony that only reveals its next note when you're ready to hear it. So when clouds move faster than light, they do not just break speed, they break the possibility of mapping. They become unknowable, unlocatable, untellable, and the map folds itself away, waiting for something slower, something softer, something patient enough to be seen. You rest, now cradled by the maps you've drawn of stars, of time, of thoughts, imperfect but steady, changing but meaningful. And as you drift further into stillness, a gentle question hums beneath your breath. If maps must wait for the world to slow, what happens in places where nothing can ever be seen, where knowledge itself dissolves into silence? You rest, quiet and folded into the dark, wrapped in blankets of silence and starlight. Beneath your skin, a symphony stirs particles, small and tireless, humming their eternal tunes. Each one follows a rhythm as old as time itself. Each one obeys, or almost all. Tonight, you will follow the quiet rebellion of a single particle, a whisper that refused to wait. Close your eyes, breathe slowly. Shrink down now, softer and smaller than atoms. Enter the quantum world, a place where the ordinary rules fall away. Here, a particle is not quite a thing. It is a maybe. It is a probability smeared across space. It is both here and not here, a ripple in the possibility of existence. Now, imagine one of these particles slipping just slightly ahead of the others, arriving early, before the event, before the cause, before anything should have been there at all. You have heard the phrase cause and effect, the dance of time, first this, then that. But what if something reversed it? What if a single quantum note played before the hand struck the key? Physicists call them tachyons, hypothetical particles that always move faster than light. No one has caught one. No one is even sure they exist. And yet, the math allows them. Like shadows from another dimension, they hover at the edges of theory, particles that cannot slow down, that always outrun time. In this realm, strangeness is not the exception. It is the rule. You drift deeper now, through the flicker and foam of space-time itself. Down here, in the subatomic hush, a particle does not travel in a line, but in every possible line. It explores every route, every delay, every early arrival, and somehow all those paths add up to one single outcome. It is possibility folded into stillness. But what if something jumped the fold, moved too soon, saw too far ahead? Faster than light particles would do more than cheat time. They would unravel causality. They would break the arrow that keeps your story pointed forward. Because if something arrives before it's sent, how can anything make sense? If you feel a knock before anyone reaches the door, where does the knock come from? What is left to believe? This is not just science fiction. It is a quiet edge of real physics, a place where equations allow strange behavior and the universe politely refuses to explain. Think of entanglement to particles, no matter how far apart, sharing a connection that defies space. Change one, and the other knows instantly. It is not faster than light, not exactly, but it hints at a kind of knowing that does not wait for light to travel. It suggests that the peekaboo has a deeper structure than distance, a language that is not bound by time. You float now in this idea that information itself might not play by the speed limit, that somewhere, deep beneath what can be measured, there is a thread connecting all things, pulling gently across the fabric of time. You are not separate from this. You are made of particles, too. Born in stars, shaped by chance, but still you are here. And perhaps, once, a single particle inside you took a shortcut, a little leap beyond light, a moment ahead of the moment. Maybe that particle gave you a dream before you had the reason to dream it. Maybe it let you feel the future as a soft tug in the present. Is that what intuition is? Is that why you sometimes sense things before they happen? A faster-than-light whisper in your cells. It's not provable, not yet, but in the gentle cradle of unknowing, you can wonder, you can listen. Because in this strange, beautiful physics, some things are meant only to be felt. The particle that arrives too soon asks no permission. It merely invites you to imagine a universe not chained to time, but dancing within it, where stories ripple outward, not in lines, but in circles. You are part of that story. Even when you sleep, your particles hum their ancient song. Most follow the rules, but perhaps one, just one, is still arriving before you ask it to. The universe holds its secrets in the folds between questions. And as you drift into silence, a new question forms, tender and luminous. If a particle can arrive before the moment, can a memory be made before the event? Before you, a mirror. It does what you expect it to do. Offers your image back to you instantly. A simple act, a daily ritual. And yet, beneath this everyday miracle, light has been racing, reflecting, obeying ancient rules. Look again. Your reflection is not you, not exactly. It is light that left your face a moment ago, traveled through the air, struck the silvered surface, and turned back toward you. A return journey. It happened quickly, fast enough to feel immediate, but it was never truly now. It was always a whisper behind the moment, because light, even at its astonishing speed, still needs time to arrive. This delay is usually so small, you never notice it. But what if you did? What if you moved faster than your own reflection? Would the mirror fail to keep up? Would your face blur? Would your eyes vanish before they could meet themselves? Let's imagine that. Let's imagine light was no longer fast enough. That somehow your motion, your presence, outran the very photons that carry your image. You lean forward, but the mirror doesn't flinch. It shows you what was, not what is. It becomes a portal, not to the now, but to a memory made of light. Your reflection is unfinished, a version of you from just a breath ago. Your hand raises, the mirror hand is behind, and this delay, this tiny gap, it stretches. Now your face appears before you step into the room. Your reflection arrives early. How could that be? For this to happen, something profound must shift. Light must no longer be the fastest thing. The laws must tremble. In our universe, light defines the possible. It sets the rhythm for how reality unfolds. Not just sight, but truth itself. Because what you see shapes what you believe. And if the mirror lies, what do you trust? Pause here. Let this idea settle like dust in quiet air. If light falls behind, then reflection becomes memory, and vision becomes rumor. And perhaps so does identity. Who are you without your reflection? As infants, we come to know ourselves by recognizing our face in a mirror. It is not instinct, it is learned. A quiet, personal revolution. Oh, we realize, that is, me. But if the mirror delays, if it shows us only what was, or what has not yet occurred, do we lose that recognition? Do we lose ourselves? There is a deeper thought hiding here. One not just about mirrors, but about how perception binds us to the moment. In physics, the act of seeing is not passive, it is a transaction. Photons leave an object, bounce into your eye, and translate themselves into neural signals. You never truly see the thing. You see the light it gave away, the light it let go, and so. What you call now is stitched together from arrivals and reflections. If some part of reality escaped that stitching, moved faster than light, it would remain unseen, untouched, unknown. That part of the universe would pass like a ghost, and yet, perhaps you might feel it. Not with eyes, but with something older than sight. Because perception is not just visual, it is felt. It is assembled from echoes, instincts, and quiet patterns. Your brain learns to expect. You are not just looking in a mirror. You are constructing yourself. Each second, your brain reconciles thousands of signals. What you feel, what you hear, what you remember, what you see. All of it slightly delayed, and still, it feels whole, seamless. Now, what a gentle illusion. That is, even with delay, even with reflection, your mind weaves you back into the moment. Even if the light is late, you are here. But still, imagine a cloud faster than light. It moves across the sky before your eyes can follow. You point, but your pointing lags. You describe it, but your words fail to land. Even your mirror can't show it. The light can't keep pace. It is real, but unreflected. And here lies the beauty of this chapter, that some truths move too quickly for mirrors. Some moments are too swift to be seen, and yet they still shape you. You are more than your reflection, more than the photons bouncing off your skin, more than the images your eyes deliver. You are the space between the light and the thought. You are the rhythm that ties delayed signals into meaning. You are the unfinished reflection, forever catching up to yourself. And now, as you rest, let that thought cradle you. You do not need a perfect image to be real. You do not need the mirror to prove your presence. Even when unseen, you are whole. Even when delayed, you are now. But if the mirror reflects memory, can time itself reflect identity? And if you gaze into the past, can the past gaze back? You are lying down, unmoving. The world around you is silent. No breeze, no footsteps, no ticking clock. It feels like stillness. It feels like nothing is happening. But even now, even here, you are moving. Your chest rises gently. Air slips in and out, carrying quiet currents of warmth and thought. Your heart pulses, almost invisibly, sending rhythm through your limbs. You are not still. You are never still, and neither is anything else. Stillness, it turns out, is not an absolute thing. It is a relationship, a soft agreement between frames of reference. If you are sitting on a train, and the world outside speeds by, you may say, the world is moving, and you are not. But to someone in the field, watching your train streak across the land, you are the one who moves, who is right. Both, this is the strange, tender truth nestled inside the laws of relativity. Motion is always compared. No object travels on its own. It moves only with respect to something else. Even now, lying still, you drift with the earth as it spins on its axis and orbits the sun. And the sun, our bright, patient star, is itself soaring through the galaxy, which glides through the expanding cosmos. So your stillness, it is layered with motion, motion within motion, nested loops of quiet journeys. You are not a statue in space. You are a passenger on a carousel inside a spinning dance, inside a drifting sea of gravitational whispers. But let's ask a stranger question. What if something moved faster than light? Not just quickly, but impossibly so. Beyond the ultimate speed limit of our universe. In such a case, our understanding of motion, already so delicate, begins to unravel, because light does more than illuminate. It synchronizes. It connects moments. It draws the lines between here and there, then and now, you and them. When two people look at a flash of lightning, they rely on light to tell them when and where it happened. If light is the messenger, then the message is coherent. But if something outruns light, the message arrives out of order. Cause becomes confused with effect. Before becomes after. And stillness, that fragile illusion, disappears completely. You cannot say what is moving and what is not, because your very measurements are broken. Your comparison points are blurred. Imagine trying to freeze a hummingbird S-wing while the frame of your camera slips through time. The image never settles. And if nothing settles, what does it mean to be still? Maybe it means this: stillness is simply the absence of relative motion between you and something you care about, like a friend sitting beside you on the grass. Both of you moving, yes, but moving together. And so, to each other, you are at rest. This is not poetic indulgence. It is physics. Einstein showed us that time and space are woven together, that observers in different frames of motion experience time differently, that simultaneity is not universal. There is no single now stretching across the cosmos. There are only layers of now, each tied to motion. So perhaps stillness is not an object's condition. It is a choice of viewpoint, a shifting frame. You can be still in one story and racing in another. And this leads us to a kind of freedom. You don't need to grasp the entire universe to find calm. You only need a shared rhythm, a matching drift with something else. Stillness. then become something you create with others, like dancers matching breath, like planets nested in orbital lullabies, or like you, now, matching your breath to the slowness of these thoughts. Here's something else to wonder about. If the clouds of Chapter 1, those faster-than-light beings, exist somewhere, how do they define rest? From their view, the universe might look backward. Everything else might seem distorted, contracted, stretched. Could they ever be still? Could they ever find a shared frame? Or would they forever rush past meaning? There is a soft sadness in too much speed, a loneliness in not being seen clearly, not being understood, because motion, at its heart, is about relationship, about how one thing changes compared to another. You are here. The moon is there. Between you, a relationship of motion, gravity, and light. And without those comparisons, meaning fades. Stillness is meaning. It is the lull between beats of change. So tonight, you can let go of the need to freeze the world. You can rest inside motion. You can trust that, even as everything moves, there is a peace in moving together, because even clouds, if they could feel, might long to slow down, to rest not alone, but beside something else that knows their pace. Stillness, then, is not a lack of motion. It is a moment of matched journey, a shared direction, and maybe, just maybe, there is a place in the universe where even the fastest clouds can pause, long enough to hear their own echo return. But what happens if the echo doesn't come back? You lie quietly. The weight of your body presses into the mattress, slow and gentle. You don't think of it as gravity. You think of it as resting. But in truth, you're stretching a sheet. Not a cloth, not cotton or silk, but the invisible fabric of space-time itself. Everything with mass does. Drop a marble on a stretched bedsheet. See how it curves the surface. See how other marbles roll toward it. That's gravity, not a force pulling, but a shape bending. You are lying in a valley of space-time right now. So is your lamp. So is the moon. So is the sun. Everything curves space. Everything bends time. A cloud, not of water, but of something strange. Not a beam, not a burst, but a mist of possibility that defies our deepest limits. What would that cloud do to the soft weave of space-time? To understand, you must let go of familiar images. No more balls and sheets. Think, instead, of a tapestry, woven so tightly that even thoughts have trouble slipping through. In that weave, mass makes dimples, speed makes ripples, and light is the thread that traces paths through the folds. A faster-than-light cloud would not just sink into the fabric, it would wrinkle it in ways we're not sure can happen, because relativity tells us this: nothing with mass can reach the speed of light, and anything without mass, like light itself, can't ever slow down. But if a cloud surpassed that, it would do more than move fast. It would twist how cause becomes effect. It might bend time backward, or skip sideways into places that once seemed unreachable, and it would certainly distort the geometry of reality. You see, gravity isn't just about pull, it's about how motion flows. The Earth doesn't fall into the sun. It moves in a straight line through curved space, a cosmic glide that feels like orbit. So if a cloud came screaming through, faster than anything has a right to be, the curves would buckle. Not like a puddle around a pebble, but like a fabric, caught in a whirl. Other things might fall toward it before it arrived. Light might bend away before it even entered the scene. This is where physics grows quiet. Not because it has no answer, but because it has too many questions. And so, gently, you're invited to wonder. You're invited to imagine that you are floating near this cloud, that you feel time tug at your thoughts. See light arrive from the wrong direction. Watch stars stretch like soft clay across the sky. The horizon might not be straight anymore. The stars might not sparkle in sync. Your own reflection, if you could find a mirror, might show a face not entirely your own, and still you breathe, and still you float. Because the truth is this: reality bends for everything. Even a raindrop curves space-time, even a whisper, even love. The difference with the cloud is only one of scale and speed. It moves too fast, and in that haste it rearranges how things can be known. Some physicists dream of taquins, hypothetical particles that always move faster than light. They don't just travel differently, they travel impossibly. Their mass is imaginary. Their direction is always from the future to the past. No one has seen one. But still, we ask, what if? Would a taken cloud ripple out from nowhere and arrive before it left? Would we see echoes before the cause? Would we feel its pull before its presence? Time might loop, distances might fold, reality itself might become less like a map and more like a poem, one without order, but full of rhythm. And that, perhaps, is what gravity always was. Not a rigid command, but a gentle persuasion, a suggestion to fall, to follow curves, to listen to the deeper structure beneath motion. So tonight, as you lie in your bed, you can imagine the sheet of space-time beneath you. You can picture it stretching out, not in 2 dimensions, but for width, height, depth, and time. And in that sheet, you are a ripple, a gentle dip, a presence. You are bending the world, and the world bends back. You are not separate from this fabric. You are stitched into it. So when you think of clouds that race faster than light, don't imagine them as intruders. Imagine them as knots, as patterns, as folds in the quilt we've yet to fully unfold. The universe allows us to wonder about what it has not yet shown. It allows dreams to reach just past the edge of law, and there, just beyond certainty, you find stories about bending, stories about clouds that shouldn't exist but might. Sing backward, and in those stories, you might find something familiar, not answers, not rules, but curiosity woven like starlight into the dark. A curiosity that asks, if a cloud can bend the sky, can it also bend meaning? Can it change what is possible? And if so, what else might lie just beyond the bend? You lie still, but your mind does not. Even with your eyes closed, even as breath slows and body softens, something in you flickers. Tiny electric pulses glide from neuron to neurons, whispering their patterns across a night sky inside your skull. This, you know, is the rhythm of sleep, not silence, but music, not stillness, but drift. Each thought, each memory, each dream, a wave, rising and falling like starlight echoing across a quiet ocean. Your brain is a galaxy of 86 billion stars, each neuron capable of reaching out and touching thousands of others, not with light exactly, but with electricity, with ions, charged and humming. And like the stars, they do not fire all at once. They shimmer in patterns, delta waves, theta waves, alpha soft pulse, and REM's staccato bursts. These rhythms are old, older than cities, older than language, older than dreaming itself. They are part of what makes you feel like you. Even as you sleep, your brain travels. But what if something new entered this landscape? Something beyond the bounds of light, beyond the timing that nature has always obeyed. Could a faster-than-light signal, a ripple through the laws of speed and distance, change the way you dream? To wonder this, you must first understand that your thoughts take time. Every signal your brain sends crawls along axons at speeds far slower than light. Electrical pulses move in milliseconds, but not instantly. A blink takes coordination. A thought takes choreography. Your neurons speak through chemistry, through electricity, through dance. But imagine, just imagine, a message arriving before it was sent. A signal faster than any your brain could expect. Not just quick, but impossible. Could such a message interfere with your mind's delicate rhythm? Could it seed a dream you haven't yet earned? Could it pull an emotion from the future and press it gently into tonight? You float in this thought, not rushing to answer, just feeling the soft tension of curiosity. Because your dreams, those strange kaleidoscopes of memory and metaphor, depend on timing, on sequences, on stories. Each REM cycle builds on the last. Each image you see in your sleep is constructed from echoes, old experiences, stitched together with thread made of now. A faster-than-light disruption would change the order, the weave. It would untie some knots before they were tied. Your dreams might no longer build. They might unravel, or perhaps they might bloom in new directions. Picture a dream that opens with an answer before the question is known. Picture a scene painted with a color you've never seen before, but will. One day. In a universe where faster-than-light travel is possible, causality must bend. And if it bends, then memory too may ripple, because your brain is not just a machine. It is a pattern, a frame you trust. On the space between, information takes time to pass, and in that time you feel, you become. Take that away, or shorten it beyond limit. And what is a thought? Is it a flash, a flame, a stillness before the sound? Here, in this floating place between waking and dream, you can imagine it. Your brain, lit from within, processing, not in steps, but in leaps, no longer waiting for one signal to follow another, no longer sequencing, no longer bound by clock or breath. It might be beautiful, it might be chaos. The stars above your pillow would not twinkle one by one. They might arrive all at once, a constellation made whole before you even see its pieces. And still, your body would sleep, your heart would slow, your chest would rise and fall with ancient patience, because your body knows what rhythm is. It knows how to wait. It knows that dreams bloom best in time. So maybe the faster-than-light cloud would pass over you like a storm you don't yet know how to name. Maybe it would leave only a feeling, a flicker at the edge of awareness, a symbol in a dream you half remember, a new kind of silence, full of possible meaning. It might not rewrite your thoughts, but it might stretch them, the way a note can stretch into a chord, the way a memory can stretch into a story. And you, tiny galaxy of thought, would remain at the center, a consciousness made of rhythm, of timing, of delay and dance. In that soft glow between neurons, between thoughts, between dreams. You exist. You are not the speed. You are the pattern the speed moves through. And that means even if something were to outrun light, to outpace causality, to skip ahead of sleep itself, you would still be here, still breathing, still drifting, still wondering, because, in the end, dreams aren't about how fast messages move. They're about how gently they land. And if something does move faster, if a cloud of information crosses your path before you're ready, maybe the dream will wait. Maybe it will arrive just when you need it. And maybe, just maybe, your next dream has already begun waiting for you from somewhere ahead. Just beyond the edge of what tonight can know, you are standing at the edge of the day. The sun, somewhere far behind you, is slipping quietly below the curve of the earth. But here, on your patch of sky, something extraordinary is happening. Color spills not just across the clouds, but through you. You feel it in your breath, in the slow stillness that always seems to accompany a sky on fire. This is a sunset, but it is also a kind of story, a soft retelling of the day, seen through the prism of atmosphere. And like all stories made of light, it takes time. Light does not arrive instantly. Even from the sun, it takes over 8 minutes to reach you, which means the sun you see now, the one blushing behind clouds, has already moved. You are looking at the past, wrapped in the glow of now. This delay is small, but it matters, because the world you see is never quite the world that is. It is the world as it was, gently delayed by the laws of nature. You accept this, of course. Your eyes and mind work together to smooth the difference, to let you believe in one continuous moment. But what if something refused to wait? What if clouds, thick with faster-than-light motion, sped ahead of the sunset's glow? What if they lit up before the sun had a chance to say goodbye? You might look up and see fire in the sky with no flame to explain it, color with no cause, a horizon that blazes before the sun is even near. It would feel wrong, like hearing thunder before lightning, like reading the final page of a book before the first word is spoken, because light, though fast, has always been predictable. It moves in straight lines, scattering gently when it meets the curve of the Earth's atmosphere. This is why the sky turns red, why sunsets bloom in orange and violet. Blue light scatters first, leaving longer wavelengths to stretch and soften across the horizon. But that beauty depends on order, on timing. It depends on light being slower than the world's rotation, slower than the motion of clouds, slower than the turn of your head. A faster-than-light cloud would outrun the rules. It would cast shadows from the future. It would paint the sky in ways your brain has never had to interpret. The colors might arrive before the shapes. The glow might outpace the edges. You might see reflections before their source is born. Imagine a sunset that finishes before it begins, where the sky fades to black just as the sun crests the edge. How would you respond? Would your eyes adjust, or would your mind reject it? Would beauty still be beauty if it defied your understanding of cause and effect? Sunsets, after all, are not just about light. They are about sequence. They are about the feeling of time dissolving gently into darkness, the slow unraveling of the day. A rhythm your body remembers, as natural as sleep. Change that rhythm, and something in you stirs. Not fear, exactly, but unease, because you trust the horizon, to move slowly. You trust the light to linger, to give you time, faster than light motion would deny you that grace. It would rush the ending, flash the epilogue before the chapter has been read. But let's look closer, not just at the sky, but at what light is. A photon has no mass. It is pure energy, riding the fabric of space at the fastest speed allowed. It cannot rest. It cannot wait. And yet, it gives you beauty. It gives you warmth. It gives you the sunset Tao. Imagine something faster. Something that slips ahead of the light. Not just in speed, but in consequence. It would distort perspective. It would alter what you see, but also when you see it, you might look out over spacely. You might look out over a peaceful field and glimpse, for a split second, a fire that has not yet started. You might turn to see someone arrive before they've taken a single step. The sky would be a theater with scenes played out of order, and your eyes, so used to light's loyalty, would try to make sense of it. This sense-making is what your brain is built for. It fills in gaps. It smooths inconsistencies. It tells you stories to keep the world coherent. So even if the sky burned early, even if clouds caught fire ahead of their cue, your mind might rewrite the moment. It might invent a new reason. It might believe the impossible just to feel safe again. But still, beneath the reasoning, you would feel it. The unease of a sunset arriving out of step. The loss of the slow goodbye. Because part of what makes twilight sacred is how long it takes. The way the colors linger. The way the sun seems to pause, as if offering one last glance before sinking out of view. A faster horizon leaves no room for reverence, no hush, no breath. And maybe that's what matters most. Not the speed of light, but the space it creates. The delay between seeing and knowing, between arrival and understanding. That space is where meaning lives, where beauty breathes, where color becomes emotion, where the sunset becomes memory. So tonight, as you watch the last gold fade into indigo, you're watching a moment already past. But that delay, those 8 minutes, is a gift, a pause between action and consequence, between the sun's departure and your awareness of its absence. It is within that pause that you feel, that you wonder, that you dream. And as the stars begin to appear, as the sky cools and the shadows lengthen, you might find yourself thinking, if light were faster, would wonder vanish with it? Or would it find a new shape, a new rhythm, somewhere even beyond the horizon that still waits to burn? It begins with the gentle patter of rain, soft and slow, like thought made visible. Each drop a moment, each moment a rhythm. You raise your umbrella, not to shield yourself from the water, but to listen more closely to the time it carries. Rain is a messenger, a story falling from above. It whispers where it's been, clouds that formed hours ago, winds that moved them, currents that cooled and condensed them until they wept. You walk slowly under this sky, your umbrella tracing a dome through the drizzle. And you wonder, what if this umbrella could do more than catch rain? What if it could catch time? You imagine the handle humming, not from cold, but from history. Imagine drops falling that haven't yet formed, raindrops from a cloud that hasn't crossed the horizon. You wonder, could weather arrive before its source? In a world where some things move faster than light, this might not just be imagination, because light, too, carries stories. And like rain, it tells them in sequence. from the past into the present. But if something outruns light, a cloud, a signal, a change, then you could receive an effect before the cause. It's a small step from there to time travel, not the kind with flashing machines and swirling portals, but the quiet kind. The kind that happens when reality folds in a subtle way, like fabric creased under a careful hand. You pause under a tree. The rain is softer here. You listen as the branches collect droplets and wonder what else might be collected in the folds of time. In physics, there's a thought experiment. A particle races through space faster than light. It reaches a destination before the message that launched it does. From your point of view, that's odd. From another point of view, it's impossible. And from yet another, it has already happened. This isn't a glitch in thinking. It's the strange truth of relativity. Time is not fixed, not universal. It stretches and bends, depending on your motion, your perspective. So under your umbrella, you wonder, if rain can arrive from tomorrow, can you step into it without breaking anything? Maybe time isn't a line, but a field, and your umbrella is just one point in a larger map. Now imagine this. You step into a puddle. A reflection stares back, not of your face, but of you from a few seconds ahead. You blink. Your reflection blinks first. This is a paradox. The rain above you may not know where it belongs anymore. Today's storm, or tomorrow's clouds, become confused when their cause and effect swap places. And so do you. You turn a corner, umbrella spinning slightly in your fingers, as if twirling might realign the timeline. You think of the grandfather paradox. A time traveler goes back and changes something small, a word, a decision, a meeting never had, and in doing so, undoes their own reason for traveling. It's a loop with no entry point, a story with no first chapter. But nature, it seems, hates contradiction. So physicists ask, does the universe somehow protect itself? Do paradoxes cancel out, like opposing waves in water? There's a theory, the Navikov self-consistency principle, which says, whatever happens in a time loop must be consistent with itself. You can act freely, but only in ways that preserve the story as it already is, under your umbrella. This feels oddly comforting. Not fate, but harmony. You can walk in the rain, toss a stone into a puddle, watch the ripples dance forward and back, but never break the flow entirely. Perhaps that's the secret. Time isn't fragile, it's flexible, woven from events that must agree with each other, no matter how strangely they are told. You walk farther, the path is slick but familiar, and you think again of faster-than-light clouds. Could one of them drift past and bring tomorrow's weather? Could you feel wind from a storm that hasn't formed yet? What about memory? Could it arrive before experience? You imagine waking with the memory of a walk you haven't taken, a conversation not yet spoken. The brain is a storm of its own, filled with particles and predictions. Maybe, in some hidden layer, it already dances with future thoughts, just slightly ahead of schedule. But you're not here to solve time. You're here to stroll within it. The rain has lessened. The sky opens slowly like an eyelid in reverse. And for a moment you think you hear it, the sound of time folding softly, like pages turning in both directions at once. You close your umbrella. It's dry now. But something remains, a shimmer in the air, a question on your tongue. If faster-than-light motion can play with order, then perhaps time is not a chain of moments, but a conversation between them. And like all good conversations, it lingers. You glance upward one more time. The clouds are moving, but it's unclear where from or when. And somewhere within you, a quiet part begins to wonder. If cause can follow effect, could stories be told backward or sideways or all at once? The cloud is gone, not just moved, but gone, past the point where light can follow, past the edge where memory catches breath but loses shape, and yet you're still here. You stand beneath an empty sky, watching nothing in particular. There is no spectacle now, no burst of motion, no bending of time, no sound trailing behind. Only this, a wide, soft silence. At first it seems ordinary, then something shifts. You begin to notice the stillness, like you would a faint scent returning after a storm. Not loud, not proud, but present. There's a strange clarity in what is left behind. This chapter, this moment, is not about what moves, it's about what doesn't. It's about the air that slowly refills the space where the cloud once raced, about the silence. That's not an absence, but a form of listening. You breathe it in. You remember how noise travels, how sound ripples, echoing its origin. But silence does not ripple. It doesn't explain or retrace. It simply rests, and yet it, too, has shape, not carved from motion, but from the memory of it. The faster the thing that passes, the deeper the quiet that follows. That's why, after a supersonic jet, the sky seems larger. Why, after a lightning strike, even your heartbeat sounds like thunder. The universe doesn't rush to fill silence. It honors it, and so should you. You find yourself walking slower now. The ground is damp from earlier rain. Each footstep is deliberate, as if time has unspooled into longer threads. You think back to all the chapters that came before, 2 clouds that moved faster than light, 2 mirrors that blinked ahead of your face, 2 particles that broke sequence. They left questions behind, loopholes in logic, beauty tangled in paradox. But because it doesn't need to stay, not all AAG must be held. Some is meant to pass, some is meant to leave behind this gentle vacancy. The sky, too, seems to exhale. The clouds now are slow, almost shy, as if embarrassed by what their wilder cousins revealed. They don't race, they don't bend light, they simply drift, like stories that have nothing to prove. You let them, and then a thought arrives, quietly and without ceremony. What is motion, if not comparison? You're only still because something else once moved. And once it's gone, how do you define yourself? Even identity, your shape, your shadow, your name, feels softer now, like something drawn in dust and left undisturbed. You think of space, the vast emptiness between stars, not cold, not cruel, just ... silent. You imagine floating through that silence, not searching, but simply existing. Not a question, not even an answer, just the pause in between. Perhaps silence is the universe's most honest language, where words falter and light bends. Silence simply waits. You stop beside a small pool. No reflection moves. No breeze dares to disturb it. It holds nothing, and in doing so, holds everything. There is science in this too. Entropy, equilibrium, systems reaching stillness, not as defeat, but as completion. After the heat, the cooling. After the burst, the breath. In that way, Silence is not a failure of sound, but the destination it always sought. You stand beside that pool, and the world seems content to leave you. UNMEASURED. No ticking clocks, no racing thoughts, just time, stretched soft like velvet. And you notice, even the silence has a rhythm, not a beat, but a presence, like the weight of a warm blanket on your shoulders. It anchors you. The more you listen, the more it says that you hear the difference between quiet and stillness. One is lack, the other is fullness. Stillness is what remains after motion has told its last tale. It's the friend who stays behind after the party ends, helping you fold chairs and sweep stars from the floor. You begin to feel that this quiet is where you were meant to arrive all along. You don't need to solve the paradoxes. You don't need to chase the light. You've walked through the bending sky and touched the fabric of causality. Now you are free to rest. The clouds above no longer hurry. They drift as if time doesn't matter, because maybe now it doesn't. And for the first time in many chapters, you feel no pull toward the next, no urgency, no unraveling, only the hush that knows stories can end without closing, only the peace that remains when awe has passed by. You take one last breath beneath this open sky, and for a moment you think you hear the entire universe pause with you. And somewhere deep within that pause, you wonder what dreams might rise when silence is the only thing that stays.